Who is singing there?
That's George Strait.
George Strait. How did I know? How did I know that? I should have guessed. Well, now we're really getting to the culmination of the show here. We're delighted to have Vikram Reddy and Chuck DeBoer. Jonah Goldberg is fun, but now here we go.
Here we go.
Brooke Rollins, President and CEO of the Texas Public Policy Foundation. Good morning.
Good morning and welcome to Texas, Bill Bennett.
I love the way she says that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You got a great meeting going on. A lot of people are going to be going. You're going, what, 3 days?
We are going 3 full days. We have over 700 registrants, about 200 on the waiting list, and we're really excited. You know, I think that Texas has been able to show what limited government and low taxes can do to an economy, and this event is truly the culmination where we believe the agenda is set. So we talk a lot about public policy and solutions for Texas and how Texas can lead the way for the country.
That's great. Well, we want to get into some of those issues, one of them particularly with you, but before we go there, I'm surprised a minute in you have not mentioned the Cotton Bowl.
Well, for everyone we have a big crowd of people here today for your listeners, and for everyone that was here yesterday, they know that pretty much every time I was on the stage, I had to make an announcement that the Texas Aggies won the Cotton Bowl, and anyone in the audience is welcome to clap, cheer, or whoop at that pretty big announcement. We have a Heisman Trophy winner from Texas A&M, we won the Cotton Bowl, it's a whole new day, Bill Bennett.
Yeah, there was one other win in your season that was kind of notable, and I was all during the what did they call it? Did you hear what some people call the Alabama-Notre Dame game? Catholics versus cousins? Yeah, not nice. Anyway, this was no doubt the Notre Dame people. But during that very boring game, I just kept thinking, looking at the overwhelming power of Alabama, how the heck good Texas A&M and Johnny football were to beat them in Tuscaloosa.
I am telling you, and Team Rollins, we were there in style cheering those Aggies on in Tuscaloosa, and it was a great game. I will have to say, I know you have a lot of listeners in the Southeast, and Texas A&M just joined the Southeast Conference this year, as most people know, and we had the most extraordinary time. My family, my husband's a third-generation Aggie. We're very big supporters of the team. We went to almost every game. We went to Alabama, we went to Mississippi twice, and the reception we received in the Southeast was just extraordinary. So we have loved every minute. And even after we beat Alabama at their home turf, it was very unexpected, they were still really nice to us. So it's been a great move for us.
Well, they respect strength and, and resilience, and you showed it. Anyway, it was a marvelous performance this year. And I owe 2 public apologies to Rick Perry, but we'll do that later.
Okay.
Let's talk about energy in America and energy in Texas. We just have a little bit of time in this segment. We have a long segment coming up. We've talked to a couple of people recently, Brooke, who have said, you know how bad the economic situation is in America? Yes, I do. If we unleash this energy, this master resource, we could address and bring this economy back to its feet. Is that true?
That is absolutely true, and it is one of the great stories to be told, not only for Texas, but for the rest of the country. In the last 5 or 6 years, Texas oil and gas production has created over 500,000 new jobs and will likely create 1 million new jobs in Texas by 2020. It's really extraordinary. When you talk about the energy boom, you know, you're talking about $22 billion basically in new revenue for state, local, and federal government. Of course, you know, we don't love new revenue for government at the Texas Public Policy Foundation and in Texas, but when you're looking at all of these states who have these huge budget holes to plug, like California, who are raising taxes to do it, it's a really amazing story. You know, 2 years ago, Bill, in Corpus Christi, about 80 to 85% of the refineries there were refining imported oil. We were refining imported oil. Today, those same refineries are importing oil made in the USA. It's an amazing story. It's such a success story. Talk about the engine of growth for our country. And really, when you talk about just the geopolitical effect worldwide, is really stunning.
All right. We'll continue this discussion with Brooke Rollins, President and CEO of the Texas Public Policy Foundation. Welcome your calls. We want to talk about energy. It is amazing what could happen in this country, how quickly all this has happened as well.
Amen.
Freedom works. Freedom and enterprise works, especially in Texas. We'll be right back, folks. Stay with us. It's Morning in America. Goodbye. Spring. where he graduates from the University of Texas Business School, Combs School of Business. We're here with Brooke Rollins, who's in charge of the Texas Public Policy Foundation. Governor Perry will be with us soon. Brooke, we got callers for you, but on this energy thing, I'm surprised at frankly how well it's going, given this administration. But people say to me, well, most of what we're seeing is on private land. And when you get to federal land, it's another question. This despite the fact that EPA Administrator Lisa Jackson said, there's been no contamination with fracking,
That's
smart
right.
drilling. Are we going to see more roadblocks in the future as we get into the federal lands?
I think there's no question that this administration, while President Obama has certainly paid some lip service to the benefits of our energy boom here, but the actions of his administration, specifically his EPA, are really frightening. And, in the last segment we talked about how extraordinary oil and gas has been for the state of Texas. It's certainly been that way across the country. And it's a real problem. Now the new kind of cool thing to talk about from the environmentalists is to federalize fracking. And of course, as you know, and most of your listeners know, fracking is a big reason that we have such an amazing boom in our energy. And so to federalize fracking from a top-down, one-size-fits-all approach will absolutely inhibit the economy, but it will also fall short of environmental goals. And it is a real problem. I think that the people of this country need to really wake up and understand. Everyone's taxes are going up, regulations increasing, but this is a significant threat, not only to the state of Texas, but to the entire country.
One of the other things you mentioned up front about the economy, here's this president looking at this horrible financial situation. It can be solved by this issue, or at least in large part, can it not?
There are many who say it can't be completely solved by this issue. There are others that say it will absolutely restore economic strength to the United States of America, and we believe that. All of the research that we have done and what we have been able to show, especially in Texas, where again you have such a great entrepreneurial environment for real economic growth, that can happen across the country, and it can absolutely work to save many, many budgets across the country. But the president, the White House, the Democrats are just not interested in that, and there's no support for it. So it's going to be a heck of a fight, and not surprisingly, we in Texas are ready for it.
Well, a slight difference with you here. I know some Democrats who are in favor of this.
That's true. You're right.
Even some of the unions are in favor of it. They're in favor of the XL pipeline.
That's true.
You got a small group of environmentalists, maybe a larger group of environmentalists. They don't have a case. They don't have the evidence. And here is a means to solve the number one problem in the country, which is the economy. Why doesn't he grab this thing and run?
Why doesn't he grab this thing and run?
Yeah.
And even, for example, the state of New York, which has said no fracking is allowed, and you look at their economy versus Pennsylvania next door, which is allowing fracking.
Yeah.
It's almost negligence, in my opinion, what is happening with those who are trying to shut down what's happening.
Did you see this report? We did it 2 days ago. That Governor Cuomo apparently got a report saying it was safe, and they've concealed it. They've kept it hidden because it cuts the wrong way.
Oh,
Once
my
again,
goodness.
here's a guy
Wow.
with fiscal problems.
Oh,
Why can't he say we're going to have,
absolutely.
we're going to allow fracking here in part of the state as the people there want it? Anyway, it's bizarre to me. Let's go to
It is
callers.
bizarre.
Here's a great opportunity, folks, to talk to Brooke Rollins. Is Victoria still on the line?
Yes, I am.
Hey, Victoria, how are you?
I'm fine. Good morning. I just wanted to make two quick comments. One is on point about fracking, and the other one has to do with payroll tax holiday.
Okay.
Okay? All right, the one about fracking, which I appreciate everybody's enthusiasm, but I got a little concerned about your conversation earlier that fracking may solve, all our debt problems, but it gets us away from the point that just because we should pay for spending doesn't mean that we should do it.
Sure.
Amen, Victoria.
It's always really important to bring back into this discussion, what are we getting for this money? I just wanted to throw that out there.
Absolutely.
My second point was about the payroll tax holiday, that's probably one of the most important things that has happened this week is that Human Resource Departments have actually let people know that their paychecks are going to go down. And that's been quite buzz on the internet among us people out here in the hinterland. So, and I think it's a real shame that the
Good.
politicians did not step up to the plate and say, look, You are going to have to pay for this spending. Here's an example. It's finally hitting
Yeah.
and that's what we're trying to work on.
Yeah,
And
check. Yeah.
this week.
Check your base down this week, yeah. Go ahead, Brooke.
Absolutely. Well, to your first point, Victoria, I obviously could not agree with you more. I think that there's no question we have a spending problem in this country. I think even in Texas, you know, we're surrounded right now in Austin, Texas, with a lot of legislators in this room and that are listening. And we just had reports come in that we're going to have more revenues than expected. Fortunately, we live in a state, and I think, Victoria, were you in Georgia? You have a pretty good environment there too. But there is always room to economize and make government more efficient. But no question at the federal level, where we're looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars per household in debt, it's time to really, it's going to be a difficult conversation. I think the debt ceiling conversation that's coming up in about a month will hopefully force the issue. Unfortunately, in the fiscal cliff debates or negotiations, that wasn't a part of the ultimate decision. But we had Senator Ted Cruz, who's our new senator here yesterday, and a former senior fellow at the Texas Public Policy Foundation, helped us launch our Center for 10th Amendment Studies. We've worked with him for a long time, and he is enthusiastic that these debt ceiling negotiations will allow an opportunity to really look at cutting some significant spending. So I'm hopeful that will be the case. And Victoria, to your second point, and I think these are very much tied together, when the American people realize that their taxes are going up, and these aren't just taxes for the wealthy, these are really everyone that's paying taxes, whether it's through Obamacare, whether it's through the new payroll, it is truly going to be so stunning, I believe. And then we start talking to these people about how spending and entitlements are going to absolutely bankrupt our country and sell our children's and grandchildren's future down the road, that we have to do some really big changes to our federal government. And a lot of people are discouraged and don't think that can happen. I am optimistic that we will be able to get somewhere, and that we have to. As Margaret Thatcher said, there really is no alternative.
Right. Thank you, Brooke. Thank you, Victoria. Well, it would be 8:30 in the East, so I'm going to guess that 8:30 Jackson is on the line from Cleveland, who will have comments about all of this and a question for Brooke. Is 8:30 there?
I'm here, sir.
Hey.
My call.
Yeah, bet.
Well, hey, I was really calling about the whole NRA meeting with President Obama issue, and I think that's a huge mistake. I think they should make a major public announcement saying we are not going to meet with the president. He's already made his views on the Second Amendment very clear, and we will not be used as pawns in his political game because we're here to fight for Second Amendment rights, and it was very clear that Mr. Obama is not. So we politely decline to attend his conference because it will do no good.
I don't agree with what Brooke says. I mean, I've had a lot of experience this sort of thing. I would go to the meeting. I would make sure that if they're filming it, you bring something to film it too, so they can't edit it. I've been in those situations. If it's a setup, it's what we call live to tape. Make sure you have your own record of it. And then have a very effective spokesman there. You've got a coherent and thoughtful position. Be ready to make it. Be ready to make it publicly. Not good to refuse meetings with the President of the United States. Good to go and, state your view. One of the most famous pictures the last 5 years is the picture of the governor of Arizona on the tarmac with the president waving her finger at him. She became a hero to a lot of people. Go ahead, bro.
Well, I would agree with you, Bill. I would agree with both of you. I think, is that a politician's answer or what?
Well, if you knew how smart 8:30 Jackson was, you'd agree with him, believe me.
Well, I'm very glad to meet you, 8:30 Jackson. But I think that you go have the meeting with the president, you make your case, and then once that's finished, you go and you launch the most concerted effort in the history of the NRA to make sure that people understand that the Second Amendment is under an assault unlike any this country has ever seen, assuming that the president isn't willing to move to our direction, which I'm pretty sure that he will not. So I think that in both instances, both are important, and I think that if it goes the way we see it going, just 8:30 Jackson, I'd suggest you move to Texas.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to think that. I'm so glad you mentioned Ted Cruz, because I didn't mention him earlier. One of the hopeful things, and I'm discouraged by the fact that some conservatives are sounding like Alec Baldwin. We got to leave the country. Don't leave the country. Leave your state. Come to Texas, but don't leave the country. is that we get some great people out on the field, and the bench is now on the field, and new people like Ted Cruz.
Well, that's right. You know, Ted was with us yesterday, and he made some great points. He said, why aren't we talking about the 47%? He said, Republicans and conservatives get so nervous when you talk about the 47% and they try to get away from it. He said, we should be every day talking about the fact that markets are the only solution that's been proven in thousands of years to release people from poverty. It's entrepreneurialism, it's capitalism, it's markets, and that is how we lift the 47% or whatever the right number is to the place of the American dream. And I think he's right. I think we lost the election because we weren't able to make the case, and Ted is an example of the new leader that we need to make the case to the American people.
And what are the 2 or 3, I'm sure there's a dozen, but what are the 2 or 3 lessons that Texas has taught us, has taught the rest of the country, other states, and the federal government?
Well, there's no question through the last especially decade, you've seen what low taxes and limited government will do. You've seen an economy in the state of Texas that has created more jobs than all other states combined. You've seen an economy that you have 1,000 people a day moving to Texas to take advantage of. And one of the most telling things to me, Bill Bennett, is the poverty rates in California versus Texas. California's 23% poverty rate, Texas is 16%.
Yeah.
And you know, you see what an entitlement welfare state will do. Whereas you see in Texas where all boats are lifted by a strong economy and by entrepreneurialism and capitalism.
Well, it makes a difference. Policy makes a difference, and the people think about policy makes a difference, make a difference, and the Texas Public Policy Foundation has certainly made a difference. Give us 15 seconds on what's going to happen here today. Give us some highlights.
Oh, we have a great day planned. We're going to have a debate on immigration.
Brian Kennedy's in that debate.
Brian Kennedy, we've got some real luminaries. You know, we believe that immigration is obviously such a difficult solution, difficult conversation, but Texas has to lead the way. So we're going to have a great discussion on that today. Representative Joaquin Castro, obviously Democrat from San Antonio, a few others. We're going to have Senator John Cornyn here. We're going to have Jonah Goldberg in just a moment, whom I know is a regular on your show. We have Newt Gingrich coming in later. It's going to be a great couple days.
That sounds like a great couple of days. All right. Thank you very much, Brooke. Congratulations on this great meeting, and congratulations on what you've done for Texas.
Thank you.
Therefore, for America.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We'll be back. Governor Perry joins us on Morning in America or Morning in Texas, whichever you prefer. Great. Perfect.